Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is July 24th, and right now we are looking at the Langley Doppler radar on the Washington coastline. You can see this initial wave of precipitation, fairly light moving across the region here. Better chances with the cold front back here that'll be moving through this evening and tonight. And of course, better chances with precipitation, as I've been mentioning. The further you go north across some of Vancouver Island, the Olympic Mountains, higher terrain of British Columbia here, there's going to be kind of a rain shadow working on the northeast side of the Olympic Mountains also. But hopefully we can ring out some precipitation all the way down through the Portland Metro and down the Oregon coastline here as well, and the Cascades will be favored also. And we'll take a look at the extended forecast as always, but let's just go ahead and jump right into things here. As the visible satellite imagery, you can see the cloud shield overtaking the region this morning. As the sun was rising, it was getting underneath this cloud shield, casting a nice sunset out there. Kind of gives some truth to that saying, red sky in morning, sailors take warning, red sky at night, sailors delight. You can imagine if you're on the coastline and the sun is getting underneath the cloud shield, means a storm system might be off to your west there. And of course, the reverse is true here, as if you were going dealing with the sunset in the afternoon hours and you saw the red skies off to your east there, you would know that the system is maybe past you. So a little bit of truth to that old saying there. You might have heard it before. Now, looking at a little bit closer look at the visible satellite, you can see this system out here spinning around. Here's Vancouver Island. There's western Washington. You can still see some nice sunshine across some of the Cascades, east slopes. There is some smoke moving up aloft across the region as well. And if you scroll down, you can see with further south extent, this front does get weaker here. That's why we're not expecting much precipitation across some of southwest Oregon along the coastline there. Now, if you guys want a nice, affordable home weather station, I highly recommend this one. It's extremely accurate. The phone app is great here. It's all wireless and solar powered here. So click on that link down below if you want to save 10% on that. And you can see, you can go to these individual stations here. You can move around on the map and you can see everybody else with one of these weather stations out there, or you can keep yours private. Now, taking a look at SeaTac yesterday, quite a warm day, 84 degrees, 5 degrees above average, and hopefully we can put an end to this dry streak here. It is our dry time of the year, especially the end of July. I mean, look at the record high precipitation amounts for July 29th, only 1,707 inch. We're probably not going to break that this year either, but it just kind of shows you how extremely dry we can be here across the Pacific Northwest. This is a red flag warning for some of eastern Oregon, Washington here with the gusty winds as you go through the day today. Not much precipitation occurring there, low relative humidity. So heads up for that. Nice graphic here from the National Weather Service Spokane. They issued this yesterday afternoon. Still applies today. Here we go with the GFS. There's Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon. Look at this trough just kind of spinning off our coastline. There goes our frontal system through tonight, and then the trough is going to hang around. We're not going to allow a ridge to build anytime soon across the Pacific Northwest, but there are some signs in some of these models that show maybe a ridge building off in towards the early portion of August here, as you can see it on the GFS. But, you know, I got to caution, you're looking at 180 hours out. Another trough develops over the Gulf of Alaska, but look at this GFS operational run as of last night. Look at this ridge just built all the way up across the North Slope, all the way into the North Pole here. Just a dynamic ridge of high pressure showing up here in some of these GFS runs. So definitely something to watch, but still off into Fantasyland. I mean, look at the extent of that ridge. Pretty impressive there with the big trough out over the Gulf of Alaska. We'll see how this develops. Now, taking a look at the European, let's go ahead and look at yesterday afternoon's run here. Trough blast through, and then you can see kind of the troughing hang out off our coastline here as we go on in through next weekend, and then we try to build some ridging here, but you can see that the European not quite as robust with the ridging, although it is fairly strong up across British Columbia here. But again, we're looking way far out. This is the 10-day plus period, just something to look off into Fantasyland. Maybe some signs of a warm-up coming on into early August. We'll see how that trends. This is looking at the European ensemble. This is an average of all 50 European ensemble members. So if we put this into motion here again, troughing hangs out for a bit here. Look at this ridge all the way up into portions of eastern Alaska and Northwest Territories, the Yukon out there as well. Troughing remains out through about the 200-hour period. Then the ridge really starts to build here across some of the west coast here with the troughing out over the Gulf of Alaska. This could potentially start to warm us up here as well. But again, just fantasy for now. Anyway, back to the system coming in here. This is looking at the NAM 3K. I'm kind of downgraded some of these winds here, not getting the gusts up in the mid and upper 30s across some of the northwest interior, maybe some gusty winds there, Strait of Georgia, Vancouver Island coastline, Washington coastline, mid-30s, generally the rule, and some stronger winds on the east slopes of the Cascades as we get that onshore gradient pushing some strong winds across the area here. With low relative humidity, it's going to mean increased fire danger. We've been talking about that the last few days as well. It's kind of a blustery day generally. This is looking at the GFS, total precipitation in inches. This is last night's run, and you can see that system move on here. And by the time we move into the afternoon and nighttime hours, you can see the GFS wants to bring some additional precip here as we go through this evening. And of course, the further north you go, the better the chances, except for this rain shadow here off to the northeast of the Olympic Mountains. And you can kind of see a sharp cutoff occurring somewhere across the Oregon coastline as well. Maybe we can squeeze a few hundredths of an inch out of this for the Portland metro here, and of course better across Seattle. But Bellingham, southwest BC, some of the higher terrain, going to get some nice amounts here. The whole rainforest should be dealing with an inch plus here as we go on in through Tuesday morning as well. This is looking at the European, last night's run, total precipitation in inches as well. And you can see the initial wave that comes through here, not dropping much precipitation across the area for Seattle anyway. But then as we go into the evening, maybe a little bit more falling here. Could we get up toward 0.2 of an inch here? Hopefully. European showing that rain shadow a little bit different location here, maybe a little bit further south towards Everett, but we'll see how that works out. Bigger amounts along the coast, of course, as I've been saying for the last few days. This is looking at 925 millibar wind height. So you can see kind of the cold front back here. You saw it on the Doppler radar pushing on as we go through the morning here, and then you can see kind of this relatively weak cold front sweep through the area. I mean, for this time of year, maybe you could call it a little bit more than weak, but still, it's something. It's going to bring some precipitation for some areas here. We'll take it, right? It's late July. You got to take what you can get. And you can kind of see the gusty winds moving through this evening, eastern Washington, Oregon, for that fire danger there as well. And then we start to relax the gradients a bit here across the area. This is looking at the high resolution UW model. Check out the rain shadow there on the northeast side of the Olympic Mountains and kind of skirting Port Angeles, Port Townsend there, some of Whidbey Island, some of the San Juans here as well. But you can really see that defined rain shadow here. As you can imagine, the flow is coming out of the southwest here, and you get some of this compression winds just subtly heating the atmosphere enough to kind of cut into some of those precipitation amounts. But look at the Washington coast, Vancouver, get out to the whole rainforest if you want to see it rain tonight into tomorrow. This is looking at total precipitation on the NAM3 cam too, and I wanted to highlight this, just showing that it is showing that rain shadow in the same area here. Bigger amounts, of course, on the windward sides of the mountains there. And you can see lesser amounts further down south. You go on the Oregon coast. I wouldn't count on precipitation down here. This is probably just noise across southwest Oregon there. But you see eastern Washington as well. This is going to get wrung out along the Cascades. Nothing expected for Spokane or Pendleton or Bend out there or Yakima for the most part. Now here we go with Everett. You can see the ensembles, a little bit of a downtrend here. The control only calling for 0.2 of an inch here, but again, we just got to take what we get here. It is late July, but you can see the pretty good model agreement here with the ensembles. And Seattle, a little bit of a downtrend here as well. Some of them only having less than 0.1 of an inch here. The controls, the mean is still around 0.2 of an inch, but the control only calling for 0.1 of an inch here. Vancouver, BC, better amounts as you go northward there. Control calling for 0.5 an inch, and the mean up over 0.6 of an inch here. And Bellingham, something similar, a little bit less than Vancouver, BC, probably. Portland, trying to squeeze out some precipitation. This is calling for 0.1 of an inch in the ensemble mean. The control has about the same. This is Brookings, Oregon, down the Oregon coastline there. We're going to move up the Oregon coast with these graphs. You can see not even hardly even a trace, nothing showing up here in the ensembles. As you go to Tillamook, though, you can see better precipitation amounts there. Astoria, a little better still. Hoquiam, now we're going up the Washington coast here, better amounts. And Friday Harbor, kind of skirting that rain shadow there, but not bad amounts here showing up on the European. Spokane Metro, not expecting much, if any, at all. And this is Bend, Oregon, only one ensemble member there at 0.1 of an inch here. So yeah, don't count on much precipitation out of this system. Now for Spokane, you will feel that cool down. I've been mentioning this as well. Here's that red line for the average temperature this time of year, about 87, 88. And you can see temperatures maybe not even getting to 80 for Tuesday and Wednesday coming up here. And then the bounce back, maybe some heat on into the extended. This is Seattle Metro, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 days below average before we start to bounce back here as we go towards next weekend. This is a 6 to 10 day temperature outlook here. You can kind of see the above average conditions the further you go off to the east here, and maybe some normal conditions here for a few days anyway. This is 8 to 14 day, and you can see kind of the signs of that ridge building here across the area. So something to watch here as we go on in through early August. Maybe that ridge will be building and bringing us back across the heat back across the region here. We'll see how that trends. We got plenty of time to watch that. This is 6 to 10 day precipitation probability, and don't put too much stock into that one. 8 to 14 days showing some monsoon moisture trying to move up across some of the Intermountain West here. Don't put too much stock in that one either for now. This was issued yesterday, but it still applies. You can see the elevated risk across NW10, some of the Columbia Basin here, Spokane. Gusty winds, low relative humidities. You guys know the drill. Just a little spark can cause some pretty dynamic fires there across the region. So heads up for that. And, you know, it's elevated other areas out there as well across eastern Oregon, NW11, 12, NW8 across some of the Okanagan area up here, and NW9. Probably still, you could probably call it elevated as well, but, you know, they have it at normal right now. Not too bad west of the Cascades right now, even though it's pretty dry out there and things can still burn. We should be below average, at least in temperature, and maybe some of that precipitation will help wet things a little bit here. But anyway, yeah, here comes our system. We'll take what we can get, right? It is late July. It is our dry time of the year here. So eventually these systems will get stronger as we move on in through August, September, October, increasingly strong. By the time you get towards November, it tends to be our maximum precipitation for the year here across Seattle, but the decline is rather slow as you go on in through January or so. So yeah, I mean, just kind of a taste of what's coming probably for this fall and winter as these systems start to get going here. But yeah, it is our dry time of the year, and we're probably going to bounce back here in August, as you guys saw. We'll see how that ridging goes. Look, got plenty of time to watch that ridge and see if it's going to develop as the models are saying. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are liking these videos. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.